Podcast Rock City.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Podcast Rock City. I am your loyal host, Joe. With me is Trey.
Hi there.
Lee.
The Goddess of Thunder.
The Goddess of Thunder, of course. I always leave that out. I gotta remember. I'm just gonna start calling you that. And then, of course, Nickelbag Rick.
I love that intro. So hilarious. I am here. We can begin.
Okay.
The Paul Stanley GPS.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
dying over here.
I know.
If you could get that, would you have that on
Yes!
the GPS?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if
Take a left.
what are they
Jeans
doing?
would
Not
go.
marketing.
Yeah.
In the next 2.10th of a mile, turn left. There's a bank.
There's a cookie store there.
Well, last show we basically let everybody know where we come from as far as Kiss and our roots with Kiss and how we became fans. And on this show, what we have decided to talk about was the first 3 albums. They really go together. If you take, I said that I wanted to talk about the first album. Rick was like, maybe we should just do the first 3 because they really go together. And I agree. I think that's a good choice. One of the things that I wanted to talk about as far as let's start with the first album, the first Kiss album. Kiss. The album, I've always heard about the album cover. I always heard that the reason why Gene's mouth is open is because they were going to put fire in there, and Ace is even kind of looking like he's looking at it, but they ran out of money or something like that. You guys ever hear that?
There's
story?
a bunch of alternate views. I have a poster of an alternate of the album.
Yeah, I have a coffee cup.
I've
with an
seen
alternate.
that. Yeah, a coffee.
Right.
Yeah, they're a little spread out a little bit more and everything. They're not
just
as
different
close
faces.
together. Right.
Right.
I haven't heard about fire coming out of his mouth.
It was supposed to
No,
be.
never heard
Yeah.
His mouth is open, and it's supposed to be
Really?
fire coming out. And if you look at Ace, he's even kind of looking in that direction. I don't know if this is a true story or not. It's just something that I've heard.
Interesting,
And then I heard that they ran out of money. I don't know how that's possible.
I have
Just cut out some
heard
paper.
that they're knights in Satan's service. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that.
I heard it was keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, somebody actually said that to me last night at your
come
show.
on.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, whatever. But anyway, the cover. Let's talk about the cover first before we get into the inside. Would you have been happy if Peter would have left his makeup like that?
Well,
Yeah.
If that's all you knew, then what would you do? I mean, I guess that's just what
I
his
think
makeup
it took
is.
him too long to do it. Somebody else did it for him.
Right.
I got that, but
Right.
it would have taken him way too long to do all that.
Yeah, I had
Peter Criss makeup takes long anyway.
right, and now, like we said on the other show, my first visual of Kiss ever, they had already been out several years, so I saw the Destroyer album cover, and then in magazine, so he was clearly the Cat. Yeah. So when I think it was really, I didn't notice that until I bought Alive. When you open it up and the gatefold and it has the other 3 albums and
Right.
the notes, I seen Peter's makeup, and I remember as a kid wondering, well, was this his original concept? And then they just said, Jesus, this is going to take forever,
We're all done. Hurry up
Yeah.
in there.
Well, I think it was like a Japanese artist that did it.
Right.
Just
Some-
did
yeah.
it. Them just came up with that
And it was like,
for that shoot.
right.
Yeah.
And I just chalked it up to going, well, I guess that was the original look and maybe
Right.
just quit. But
Well, they all look
Yeah.
kind of. I mean, Jeans even looks a little different.
Gene's changed
so, I
his a
mean,
lot over the
He
years.
changes it all the time.
there's so
I
many
really
different-
enjoy the Love Gun era look.
like that.
But now it seems so crammed.
I just noticed sometimes
It's
it looks
very
like
different now.
I've noticed where it looks like, and maybe I'm just looking at it wrong, but it almost looks like Paul will just kind of half do the star, like the points to one
what's
side
going
of his
on
hair.
under his hair?
Yeah, like he just says, "Fuck it, I'm not going to do that. I'll just put my hair covered." And I noticed on the last tour, and this really was just disappointing to me. It's like it reminded me of one of those makeup kits that you just buy where you just kind of lay it across your face and peel it.
Those don't work.
Right? Because you can tell he's putting this makeup on with his hair pulled back, and then he puts that wig on, and then there's about like an inch.
There's skin, yeah.
Yeah,
I
you can
noticed
see
that
from
too.
his hairline to where the makeup, it's like a perfect
Because
line.
they gotta glue that wig or whatever.
Right, or
Piece.
whatever.
I hate talking about that because I just pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no wigs.
There's no wig. I'm the
that's
same way.
Kiss. They're
From
timeless.
when I was a
they
kid,
don't get old.
When I was a
Right.
kid, Ace Frehley was God to me. You know, I was like, oh my God, Ace Frehley is so amazing. And then when I got older, for me it was when they took the makeup off was when I realized, man, Paul is really the man. Yeah. When you watch him live, he really is. He's the show.
One of the best
without
frontmans
makeup,
in rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Without makeup, Paul Stanley is the Kiss show. Gene is not as menacing. He's not as
Well, the character's
demon gone.
Was on stage. There was nothing more evil than him.
Yeah.
I've always said and I've never met Gene in the full Kiss makeup. Now
it's fun,
right? But I will say this: I think that Gene outside that makeup is Gene Simmons, but when Gene has that makeup on, he is the demon. He is that character. He doesn't.
I know that feeling.
Right, but
Right.
and I'll say that with Lee too. When when I first met Lee, she told me, she goes, "Oh, I've got this whole costume that I do, the Goddess of Thunder, and I wear the makeup." And I was like, "Oh, I want to see this." So the first time I had been friends with her for a little while. And then the first time I see her in this makeup, it's really intimidating. It's not
and
like
I do it on purpose.
Right,
You act. You
Sure,
can't help
sure,
it.
yeah.
she's no longer this girl to me.
You become
she
a different person.
right, and she's intimidating, and it's just like, oh my God, and then it wears off once she's like, hold my purse, hold my drink,
Hold my purse.
then I feel like Tommy Thayer.
Oh, jeez.
Make your letters out to. Okay, so let's talk about the record. You got your core Kiss songs on here.
Yeah.
You've got Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin, Let Me Know, Kissin' Time. Yeah.
I like Kissing Time.
Yeah,
Kissin'
I know,
Time.
but it's not a core. It's not a core Kiss song.
not, but I love it.
Deuce, the love theme from Kiss.
Love it.
Which should have been much too young, and they should have played that whole thing out. That song rocked.
100,000 Years and Black Diamond, which is my second favorite Kiss
What
song.
a bunch of songs.
Yeah, when you
Gems.
yeah,
Deuce, come on.
Yeah, right.
yeah, and okay, so let's start with Lee. Favorite song on the album?
Deuce, probably. But the thing about those songs is when they obviously the first few albums didn't do that good. When they came out with a live, that's when it just doing those live just blew it out,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's totally different
Deuce
sound.
especially.
Just all of them, man.
Oh, yeah.
But Deuce is probably my favorite on that record.
Cool. What about you, Trey?
Let Me Know.
Let me know.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I like the riff at the end. It's probably one of my favorite riffs they've ever done.
It's a cool
That,
bass line in there too.
Yeah.
The harmonies.
Yeah, the lead into it.
And
Just
how
everything about
how
it.
it changes at the end. It's
Well,
cool.
and that's the song that Paul played for Gene, so it's sort of, foreseeing what would become, a little taste from their past becomes what's gonna be. But it's just my favorite song on there. I don't know. It's what I always skip to if I'm like, what do I want to hear first? That's the one I go to first.
Right.
What about you, Rick?
It's the same one. Let Me Know. Basically everything Trey just said. I like the harmonies. I like that riff in the song. And it's not one that you hear a lot. It's not played live.
I wish they would play it live or would have on the reunion or something.
Sure. So I think that would probably be my pick.
So the story of the album is they Kiss performed in this roach-infested, rat-infested motel.
The Coventry.
The Coventry. Bill Coyne comes out. He sees the band. He thinks, man, I can really do something with this. Tells them, give me 2 weeks.
the late great Bill Coyne.
Bill
Right.
Coyne, right?
You
And
met
then
him.
Yep, we've met him.
I met him too. Mhm. And he everything works out exactly the way he says. So the first record comes out, and the name who produced it?
Neil Bogart.
Thank you very much.
No, Richie
No.
Wise, Kenny Kerner.
There we go.
Oh.
Oh, Trey.
Bogart did Dress to Kill.
Oh.
Come on, Rick. God,
Yes.
embarrassing.
Yeah. We
The
can edit
child
that
in the
out.
room.
Yeah.
He was our historian there for a moment.
This kid knows the
He
facts.
knows,
Like
yeah.
when he was like 8 years old, coming to the expos with us, he knew all the facts. He was like a little adult. That's why we didn't mind having him.
Yeah.
Seriously, when you were a little kid, we were like, Trey's cool, man. He knows
I
everything.
remember correcting somebody about an outfit piece.
Yeah,
No,
like-
that was
yeah,
on
like
Preacher,
Rich or
not on
something.
this. This is
One day we'll tell the story of when we went to see the Kiss Alive 4 in the movie theater. Trey was with us. I remember it was a very interesting ending to that day. And we will get into that. And you have to stay tuned. You have to listen to all the shows in order to hear all the craziness that some people
Crazy night.
do. Like, we'll get into that. Anyway, okay, so the album comes out. It doesn't sell, it sells
Right.
decent. It doesn't sell. The tours are amazing, though. The concerts are selling out. They
their
play
live show that
their live show. Right.
Mike Douglas.
people just didn't get.
ABC.
Oh, the Mike
Right.
Douglas was classic.
Right.
Right. Yeah, the Mike Douglas thing is amazing with the references to Gene Simmons' nose.
Yeah, it's the hook. You
It's
can't
the
get
hook.
away
You
with
can't
the
hide the
hook.
hook.
Can't hide the hook.
Said by an actress that I have no idea who
Tony
she is.
Fields.
Tony Fields,
I mean, I when I say I don't know who she is, I mean I couldn't tell you anything.
And the way
she ever
Gene's
did.
doing the character is just so like he wasn't sure yet what he was. It was
Yeah.
so
My
killer.
favorite
Loved
line.
it.
My favorite line of that is when he goes, "I'm looking out at all these cheeks
and necks.
and necks." It's like cheeks. What are you going to bite them in the cheek?
Yeah.
Very appetizing.
Yeah, and it's so funny because he kind of goes in and out of character. He's this
He's almost like a vampire.
right, and then he's like trying to explain this kissing contest down in Florida, and he's all like, "Yes, we'd really like to get Howard Cosell to do the
It's
blow
all
by blow."
Just being a regular.
Yeah, and it's like, well, okay, well, what are you? Are you this,
So great.
He's a businessman, the most
Yeah.
evil thing of all.
Evil being.
instead of a skull and crossbones, he should have come out with a big dollar sign.
It's like it's so perfect.
His makeup could have been $1.
Yeah, right, like that Randy Newman. Did you ever see that album cover by Randy Newman? And he's like sitting on the
Is
desk.
that the guy that was like here in my car?
No, that's Gary Newman.
that's
That's Gary Newman.
He's short people. He's a short people guy.
Yeah.
In Toy Story.
Close. I was close.
And there's this album cover, and Gary Newman, I guess he's kind of doing a little parody of Gene Simmons, but he's got this white makeup on and green dollar signs over the eyes.
I gotta see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the question that's gonna. And I know I did not prepare you guys for any of my questions, but there's a reason for that. It's because I really want to hear it off the cuff. You got the Kiss album. You got to take one song off
Off the first one?
the first album and get rid of it. What's it gonna be?
Well, I know what I would pick, and I know why. I would pick Love Theme from Kiss, and the only reason I would pick it is because it's just super repetitious. I mean, it's just over and over and over. It really doesn't, and they should have used that song Much Too Young and
Acrobat.
Acrobat.
yeah.
That was, man, that jammed. I mean, I don't know how that got cut into the and when I remember when I first seen that Kiss album and it said Love Theme from Kiss, and I was like, is it like the Monkees theme? It's like, do they have to have a theme? Like, okay, here we come with makeup on our face. We're gonna breathe fire and destroy this place. Hey, we are Kiss.
With the kisses.
We're the Kisses.
The kiss.
And the other thing I never could figure out is why Kiss never once ever named an album and makeup.
Gene saved that for his book.
That
Yeah,
should have been
right.
what Psycho Circus was. Kiss and makeup is although there wasn't really much Kiss on that album.
Right.
I mean, no.
There was one bootleg where the guy announced them as the kiss.
The
Do you remember?
Kiss. Yeah, right. Put your lips together
The kiss.
for the kiss.
That is amazing. That's like the Batman. It
Yeah.
always drove me crazy.
So dumb.
What about you,
I
Lee?
agree with Rick. I mean, I have to pick one. So I like that song, but
Sure.
if I had to pick one out of all those amazing tunes, that would be the one.
I
Yeah.
think that I feel the same way, and I think this was a really easy one for us.
Yeah, I
because
mean that's the obvious one.
It
'cause
is the
there's- I mean,
obvious.
Black Diamonds on it. I mean,
Sure.
come on.
Everything else it's like a speed bump in that album. I mean, it's
I like it though. I never skipped it.
I never disliked it, but I just felt like it was just the low man on the totem pole out of that whole list of songs. What about you, Trey?
Well, I was going to say Kissin' Time, but then the more I thought about it, I kind of agree with you.
Love Kissing Time.
I mean,
too.
I do too, but compared to everything else that's not instrumental and everything
Right.
like that, and knowing that, they didn't really write it, they didn't want to do it.
Right.
It's just for the kissing contest thing, so that kind of just, I don't know, it doesn't work out for me as well. I still listen to it, but it's, I could scrap it.
It's got a good bass line in it, though.
does.
I like the intro.
It's catchy.
I do like
Yeah.
the intro and everything. I like the song.
And the other thing I like about Kissin' Time is that they name a bunch of cities that at that time they hadn't even been to yet, So,
Yeah.
and I thought that was kind of
Hadn't
cool.
been anywhere yet.
Right.
I mean, how old was I? 10?
Right. And so I just feel like it's one of those songs where they kind of already projected, the larger than life, fake it till you make it kind of, we've been everywhere, type thing.
We're
even though they
touring everywhere.
Sure,
Yeah.
and they haven't. But I'm still sticking with my pick of Love Theme.
I agree.
And even the Love Theme, it almost sounds like something off a James Bond soundtrack.
Right.
The Love Theme from James Bond.
And I just recently heard that they're going to redo the movie Endless Love, and I was wondering, man, are they going to put "I Was Made for Loving You" on the soundtrack?
No, they'll have.
Was that in the soundtrack?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure
so I
was.
didn't know that.
That was with Brooke Shields, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That one.
They'll have that
There's no
song.
need to redo that.
Well, they just do everything.
They gotta
just-
redo every masterpiece. But that's another issue. I mean,
That's another
really
podcast.
redoing Nightmare on Elm Street? That's another
Yeah.
talk.
They're gonna redo
Sorry.
Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park and make the ending make sense.
Tommy and
There you
Eric.
Okay. Anyway, okay.
Tommy
so
and Eric can be the robots.
Right.
They beat the crap out of.
I thought they would be Devereaux. It's like at the end. Okay.
Yeah. Eric can sit on Tommy's shoulder. They can be one man.
Better the two. Better come
Just
with
put a
the
lab
robots.
coat over them.
They're the robots in the horror themed attraction. It's
Yeah. Be the one getting whipped. Yeah.
Like in like Rick, I got done.
I'm just visualizing that whip thing.
Yeah. And the guy with a bowl haircut.
So
Man,
great.
you know that
I need to watch it again. I haven't watched it in a few weeks.
those were all like professional
weeks.
mimes, I think, that got hired to do that.
Oh, yeah.
that
It's
movie.
classic.
Okay, but like Rick was saying, I got Destroyer before I got any of the other Kiss albums. So the first time I saw the first album, Kiss, I just remember it. To me, it wasn't as amazing to me as Destroyer's album cover was. As a matter of fact, when I looked at it, I remember thinking, all my friends that are Kiss fans that got this album, man, they were really turned on by this picture. Where I don't think it would have done the same thing for me, as seeing them with the
Right.
pseudo city behind them,
Oh, well, that was an
and-
unbelievable album cover.
Yeah.
But when I bought it, I didn't buy it actually. When I got the
Your
Alive one, I
brother's,
stole
which you
from my
stole.
brother.
Right.
And then I saw the originals, and I of course took that also and wrote my
Sure.
name in it. I still have it with my name in it. But that's how I got those 3 albums. I had the originals.
And that's sort of an improvement on the first cover too, with the fire and everything on the originals. And it
That
just
was a
looks-
pretty cool cover. the
Yeah, that
originals.
was a really cool cover. They
So that took me in also. So then I
Sure.
went back and listened to all those. you
Well,
know.
see, that's what I was going to say. That's one thing I thought was kind of cool to me as a fan. Like, I got Destroyer first, so I got, this bombastic album cover, just the intro to Detroit Rock City with the acceleration. It's almost, just like a crescendo of a
great.
song. It just builds and builds and builds. And then it takes you into places like Flaming Youth and Sweet Pain and Shout It Out Loud. And even Great Expectations and
We're
Beth.
not on that album yet, Rick.
I know, but I'm just saying. But you get to that, and then I went back to Alive, and then it was like I could feel the fire, and I could smell the smoke, and I was getting a contact high at 8 years old off of that album. And but see, that made me go and discover those first 3 records and listen to them differently to the point where I was like, okay, this is cool because this is how this all started.
Right.
I've got. I got the adrenaline shot of what it all has built up to, but now I'm kind of curious. It's like a comic book in a way. If you go pick up a particular Spider-Man comic or whatever, and it's like this epic battle between him and Green Goblin, and you're like, well, Jesus Christ, how did this all happen? And then you go all the way back to build to it. So, I think I would have probably looked at Kiss differently if somebody would just put that first album in my hand and said, check this out. I don't think
You wouldn't really have gotten it.
I agree.
Because the live thing is what really
Yep.
how you get it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I always thought that, ever since then, I've always thought that discovering a new band for me is even more fun when you find out that I've come in on the 5th album. And then you go, man, I really like this. It's like how I
So then you got
discovered
all these other albums you can get.
you know,
back
yeah,
catalog.
like that's how I got into Dream Theater. You know, with the Pull Me Under, and
Yeah.
you know, and and then somebody went, oh yeah, you know, they've got records before this. I was like, for real?
Gotta go get them all.
Gotta go get them. And then you find out that they're not all available. Anyway, that's a sore spot for me. But, okay, so and then I wanted to bring up something about, for me, 100,000 Years. That song is so epically written. I mean, to me, it's like everything that critics want Kiss to be as far as songwriters. When I listen to that song, it just seems to has it all. You know.
I never got when the critics said they weren't good songwriters and not good musicians, because these songs are great.
I
mean,
agree.
I just never understood where that was coming
Yeah,
from.
I
And
guess
Rock
I've-
and Roll Hall of Fame and all that. I just don't get it. They've influenced so many people, and the songs are awesome. I just
And that used to bother
get
me
it.
too. Is that Alice Cooper would get praise, and his shows were very, way more,
Theatrical.
than Kiss.
vaudevillian.
I mean, Kiss. I mean, really and truly, was just the breathing fire and the smoking guitar and stuff like that. But it was still mostly just music, and the makeup and everything. So Alice Cooper was way more gratuitous.
yeah, he was doing actual like Broadway stage show, like horror based.
Right.
Right.
And he didn't ever seem to get the kind of flack that Kiss did. And I just wondered, did critics listen? Like, I know Paul Stanley has said this. He goes, a lot of critics will listen with their eyes opposed to their ears. They'll just look at something and automatically just shit on it and go, you know what? This automatically sucks. And they haven't even given it an obvious chance, because they're like, oh, it's a gimmick. They've got, are they clowns?
gimmick, yes.
What is going on with this,
Yeah.
And that might be an answer to my question earlier about why Kiss never did, pander to the idea of Kiss and makeup. It was already kind of a tongue-in-cheek in your face. Their name is Kiss, they're wearing makeup, but they didn't have to stoop to that to go,
Right.
get it? Hey!
Well,
They don't need to.
You mentioned clowns. We're talking about the first album. When they shot the album cover, they've stories that the photographer had brought in like balloons and clown wigs and stuff. Even he had not even heard of them. And it's like,
didn't
there's
get
this
it.
makeup band. They probably want to be clowns or something. Let's bring in clown stuff. Red noses and wigs and horns and
Big
balloons.
shoes.
Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy.
All right, let's move on to Hotter Than Hell.
Speaking of John Wayne Gacy.
Okay, Hotter Than Hell came out in 74. Production was Kenny Kramer and Richie Wise. It says that production, the engineer was Warren Dewey. And then there's all kinds of art stuff and, of course, involved, because Hotter Than Hell is one of the most elaborate album covers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's one thing about Kiss, is that you always got something cool with their album covers. I remember they were interviewing, and maybe you guys remember the guy's name. I don't know it right now, but the guy who played Cameron in
Ferris Bueller?
Ferris Bueller.
Oh,
Yeah.
He did Jon Stewart's show. It was back when he used to ask them like questions at the end of the show or something like that, and he said who had the best album covers. That's the dog whacking his tail against the floor. Anyway,
I was like, what the hell?
anyway, and he answered Kiss had the best album covers,
wow.
and Jon Stewart was like, no, it was some other band I don't even remember. I mean,
How
it
do you
was
say no? It's like
no.
an opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
It was a wrong answer.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, okay. So let's see. And the songs on this album, once again, are amazing. It's Got to Choose, Parasite, Going Blind, Hotter Than Hell, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, All the Way,
Jim, right.
Watching You, Mainline, Coming Home, and Strange Ways.
Wow.
I mean, and yeah, once again, I mean,
No.
it's like I could go watch Kiss just play the Hotter Than Hell
Amazing.
album.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or just those first two. I mean,
Yeah.
well,
None of them I'd skip.
Well, I was going to say, would you, propose the same question about would you take one song off? That?
Well, we're going to get to that. Yes, I'm going to do that on every song. But first song. This is a tough one, man. Now I'm going to guess with Trey. I would like to take a guess. And people don't know I play in a band with Trey. Called Bay City Psychos. And Trey is a songwriter. He's a drummer. He's a bass player. He plays guitar. And if I had to guess what your favorite song on this album is, and I truly don't know, I would say Parasite.
I do like that one a lot. That is probably a close first. I don't know. I don't even know what my first is, but I do love Parasite. It's one of the first songs I learned to play on bass, matter of fact. I really like Got to Choose, though. I like it live better. Production on the album's not stellar, but it still has a charm to it.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah, that's probably my two favorites. That maybe Coming Home.
Coming Home's a great song. What about you, Lee?
I've always loved Let Me Go. It's like one of my favorite Kiss songs.
Yeah.
Playing it live is so fun. It's just fun.
It was
So
fun.
up and...
Oh, yeah. When I was in... when I went to see them in Detroit, I remember when they played that, the guys that I was with, I looked at them and they were like...
So great.
I never say this is one of my favorite Kiss songs, but man, this is one of my favorite Kiss songs.
Well, and the extended version from the live tour and everything, that's so awesome. That way they jam on it for a while.
Yeah. What about you, Rick?
Well, I'm going to pick an obscure one. And I always love this song. I'm kind of with Trey. I got two, but this is my favorite, really.
I think I know what it is, too.
Go ahead and tell me.
Is it Mainline?
Nope.
Nah, that's my
It's All the Way. And I just
I love it.
I just... I like the intro to it. I like that little bass riff in it. I like the cowbell in it. I just think it's just got a nice... It just, shows that they're not, For instance, you can notice on a couple of songs on Dress to Kill where they sound very similar. It's almost like they just kind of rewrote, to the same riff and stuff on a few songs. But All the Way just has that... It just has its own little thumbprint to it.
It's simple and effective.
Sure. And, yet again, never played live. Very, you hardly ever hear... I don't know, maybe they've played it live maybe once.
I don't know if they added that for Rock the Nation or World Domination, whatever the DVD was. I think that might be one of the ones they brought back.
They use it in Second Coming. There's a scene where it's like switching scenes and they're getting ready, and they use it as background music, and it's just like it fits so perfectly. I've always liked that. I just thought it was a different one. And then the other one is Coming Home. I like that. Only thing I have a problem with Coming Home is there's no solo in it, but still great. Great.
It was cool on the Unplugged.
Yes, absolutely. I loved it.
That
I was so surprised when they pulled that one out.
That sounded great Unplugged.
Yeah.
For me, it's a tie. It's Let Me Go Rock and Roll, and I love Parasite.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is... when I listened to that song, and I heard Anthrax cover it, and I was like, it's Anthrax.
Right.
When you listen to it, it's like it is a good Anthrax song. They could have written this. They could have written that song. And you listen to it, and you're like, man, it's really brilliant. Let's talk about the album cover.
Real fast. I just kind of want to interject on Mainline again. That's got one of my favorite lyrics of all time. Is I'm needing some lovin'. I'm hot like an oven.
Worst.
That's deep. It's not good, but it is.
Classic.
It just gets me every time. It just brings a smile to my face. Hot like an oven. I'm like, all right.
It's like I would like to use that to tell a girl. It's like, look, I'm hot for you. I'm like hot like an oven.
I'm needing some lovin'. I'm hot like an oven. Come on.
It is perfect.
Does that make you horny, baby?
Words of Peter Chris wisdom. Are they wooing you any?
Right.
Okay, so the album cover is, there's a lot going on
Between Paul and Peter.
Yeah, in the front album cover and the back, even the back, you're going, man, there's more to see.
Right.
And with Gene breathing the fire, and what is he wearing?
Yeah. Well, yet
Is
again,
it like a Japanese
no, it's like it's weird. It's like I don't know, man.
Like armor, some sort of knife.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Thing.
Is it one of those? Is it like a kendo guy?
Those actual pictures. I've seen the actual photos where they were shot, and they were like, outside in a back alley. If you ever seen those pictures of him, he's got that chalice and that thing, and I think actually underneath he's just wearing like black jeans. I don't think he's got like his boots or anything on, because it's only shot from the waist up, and it's just garbage cans around him,
Nice.
and a brick wall, graffiti and shit like that on it, and they just did all the shots. Of course, just photoshopped it for that. But yeah, that was, I was thinking the same thing when I saw that. Is this a costume that he's worn on stage? It's like that.
It looks like I have to look at the album cover again, or the back. It looks like he's got the sort of horn-looking things on his shoulders, like he would have, I think, on the first costume, or the Hotter Than Hell costume. But he's got the cape on too, so it sort of goes over it. I could be wrong, but I think that there's elements of his actual costume, but the rest of it's just something I just threw together.
And I remember reading. I wish I knew. Either I read it or I heard it on an interview one time that during those pictures Paul was trashed and they locked him in a car or something
Station
like
wagon.
Read that today.
Station wagon.
There's outtake pictures of him all sprawled out and just messed up, having a good time.
That's so perfect.
I was higher than hell.
I remember when I was
drunker than hell.
when I was listening to Kiss Alive, and Paul says how many people like to get high. I remember thinking to myself, my mother better not hear him say that, because you're gonna take
mine
this.
paid attention.
I agree.
As when I was younger, I didn't really even think about what it meant.
There was no stickers on the albums back then, like parental.
right.
It was just like,
That came
here
later.
you go, kid.
Hey, we put a star. We put a star over this lady's nipple. There you go. Have fun, kid.
Well, I didn't think about like when he says, how
fun,
many you like to
kid.
get high, and then when Ace does shock me and get me high, I was like, what is that? How is she gonna do that?
Okay, so you're putting the album out, and you got to take one song off of it.
I was going to say something real quick before we go there, just about the album art, real fast. I often
I got
wondered.
something, too.
I often wondered, did Kiss, did they use the Japanese look for Hotter Than Hell to kind of almost give them some sort of kind of international kabuki-esque look, because
Right.
Sure.
because with the first album,
Because they knew they were going there at some point.
well, no, I don't even
hoping
think that.
anyway.
I'm just saying. I think that from the last album, where it's just a black with their faces on it and it says Kiss and the Rhinestones, it didn't bring anything really. It was just like, it is what it is. It's just that. But did they kind of look a little deeper into the idea of making it look
It's colorful.
as, did they come from Japan, or are they?
Yeah.
Do they have
What are
Japanese?
they?
Yeah. And do they look more international with this sort of, is it kabuki theater? What is it? Is it
Right.
rock kabuki theater? I mean, so I think rock buki. And so that's what I kind of always took from the Hotter Than Hell album cover, is that they went a direction just to kind of make themselves look, yet again, fake it till you make it, look bigger than you are.
Look international.
Sure.
One thing I wanted to point out, which, it's easy to theorize, I guess, but I looked at that album, and I recently got Aerosmith's Got Your Wings on vinyl, or Get Your Wings, I'm sorry. And that's both their second album, both come out the same year, and if you look at it, they're almost sort of not positioned the exact same way, but Steven's kind of like leaning on one of them, kind of as Paul is on Peter. And they all just sort of look kind of spaced out, which with Aerosmith you can only expect. But I just always kind of wondered, did one look at the other and go,
we should do that.
yeah.
Well, maybe back in photography circles, they're like, this is the look for this year.
Just lean all over each
Lean
other.
all over.
Wasted and lean on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if
70s.
the guy, maybe rock photographers are far and few between.
Maybe the same.
Maybe it's the
Right.
same guy, and
Did
he
you notice who
said,
did the?
I'll have to look in
Same
the liner
guy?
notes now, but I don't know.
Okay, so what are we removing off of this, did you say?
yeah, we'll let
brutal.
you go first, Rick.
Hotter Than Hell. Well, I don't know. This is probably not going to go over really well, but I'm going to go with Strange Ways. It's not really one of my favorite songs. I don't hate it, but it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those songs that I just feel like it was never meant to play live. It's just kind of it's got that backward sort of sound to it. You know, I've heard that before. I don't know. It's just one of the few songs that just doesn't really.
I kind of wish they would have saved it for Ace to sing. I think that would have been kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It fits his character more than Peter Criss, I feel like.
Sure.
Yeah, but if that's going to be my pick.
Lee.
That's tough because I like all those songs. But if I had to pick one, it'd have to be probably Mainline. Unfortunately, because I like the song, but
it's the oven line, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the cheesy oven line.
For me, it's mainline as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean, because the other ones are so huge. It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
I have to pick one.
It is a departure from the rest of the album.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that's the way
I
it's
just
different.
can't see I just can't see. I mean, I could never got to choose Parasite, Go
No
on
way.
Blind,
Yeah.
Hotter Than Hell,
Come on.
Let Me Go Rock and Roll, All the Way. I don't know. You know, I guess it would.
gotta be
for
Their
me. It would
Strange
be
Ways of
between.
Mainline.
Right.
Yeah, Peter. You know.
And I love Peter's voice.
He had
I love
another
it.
line that got rejected was "I'm cool like a refrigerator," but nothing really rhymed with refrigerator, so they rejected it.
Cool.
You know, Pete was always having problems. You know, Beck turned into Beth, and they're like, he's like, "Well, can we use Frigidaire?" They're like, "Not on an album called Hotter Than Hell, sir."
no cooling.
If you haven't seen it yet, if you get the opportunity to go to YouTube and watch the video of the story about how Beth was written, and
Oh, yeah.
it's like the
parody one?
a parody. Yeah,
stupid.
it's
Oh, that's really, really funny.
it's funny. You know, it's just a conversation. You know, and it's so perfect the way it came out. What about you, Trey? You would pull.
As much as I praise that oven line, I can kind of see why.
Now you're thinking about it twice, aren't you?
Now he's like, God, all of a sudden I hate that song.
Line is
Why is stupid?
Why they keep it? The refrigerator is way better. But I don't know. It is really just a departure from the rest of the album as far as the riff, the sound is a little different. You know, I still like it a lot, but I can if I had to scrap one, I guess that would have to be it. Oven line.
If you have to pick one, that's got to, you know, it's just...
If they could have just worked that oven line into Parasite somehow, maybe.
Or Hotter Than Hell.
Right. Maybe. The proper
I
place.
preset the oven at 325.
That's really amazing. So what about when it comes to Hotter Than Hell? Do you think that without and I know this is but the first album for me it's a absolute no. It would be the same way for you guys. But do you think that if they would have skipped like an album like Hotter Than Hell, if they would have not done these songs? You know, and they would have, and it had something else completely. And I know we don't have anything to reference it by, obviously, but you know, when you think about, you know, when people think about Kiss, the first song that always comes to their mind, especially if they're not a real big Kiss fan, is "Rock and Roll All Night."
Yeah.
You know, and you know, most average, not big Kiss fans aren't going to know a lot of these songs. So, do you think that if they wouldn't have put this album out and jumped right ahead to where Rock and Roll All Night comes from, would they have still, could we have, without a world without Hotter Than Hell? You know,
There's no place
to me,
for me.
you know, for me, I knew I had a feeling. I kind of led that one in there, but for me as a Kiss fan, as a big Kiss fan, Hotter Than Hell is in my top 5 albums.
Yeah.
You know, I have to have Hotter Than Hell. I have to listen.
No, I mean
to
there
it.
has to be a history. You know, it's like, come on, it's stupid to say.
Well, real quick.
What if this didn't happen?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was going to say something about the first Kiss album. I'm going back a minute, but this is weird. I have this several copies of the first Kiss album, but I somehow, throughout the many years of just obtaining albums, I have one album, and it's the first one, and it's "Let Me Go."
Let me know.
Let me know.
No, but it's Nothing to Lose.
Nothing to Lose. That's what it is. And it's a live cut from
Alive.
Alive on this first
Some
album.
kind of weird print.
I guess I've never ever seen anybody else to have one like this. I don't know if
God,
it
what
was...
do you want for it?
So if anybody else, has this album with this live version on it, email us. Let us know that you have one, and if you have any information of why it's like that, I have no idea.
Misprint.
Or any other albums for that matter, as far as Kiss albums.
I had a friend of mine
with Live I Want You.
I had a friend of mine one time. He had the Scorpions 45 picture disc of Blackout, and but when you put it on drop the needle on it, it was Madness, Our House.
What?
Yep.
That's
Awesome,
amazing.
that's cool.
That's a great story.
And the guy, he was a teacher of mine when I was in high school, and he runs a comic book shop still to this day. I told him about it, and he goes, "Man, if you can buy that from him, you should try, because that is so rare.
No
that thing
kidding.
will be worth a lot of money." He never would come off with it, though, because he was like,
He
it's
knew.
just so... Well, he loved the novelty of it. Just the fact that, you had this picture disc that... Wrong song.
Somebody like, hey, let's listen to some Scorps.
Yeah.
All right, man, put it on.
No, this is Scorpions. Look at the record.
Can you imagine the confusion on somebody's face?
Especially they're first starting to get into music, and they see this guy with the forks in his eye screaming,
This
and
is
it's
what they're
like,
saying.
our mom, she's so house proud. Ah! Father's got forks in his eyes, he's not really happy.
Okay, so we have finally gotten to Dress to Kill. Produced by Neil Bogart, engineered by Dave Whitman. George Lopez, amazingly, was the assistant engineer on that. Not the same George Lopez.
Is it the
I'm sure.
comedian?
Yeah,
Although he is a huge Kiss fan.
he's a huge new Kiss fan.
He has had, I think, both Paul Stanley
to
and
clarify.
Gene Simmons on his show when he had a show before they took it off for
On his actual
Conan.
on his TV show, the George Lopez show, apparently his next door neighbor was a big
Had
Kiss
yeah,
fan.
and he
Has a
had
collection
posters
and
all
stuff.
over the walls. Yeah. Okay, so this album has another massive group of great songs: Room Service, Two Timer,
Great.
Ladies in Waiting,
Great.
Getaway,
Great.
Rock Bottom, Come On and Love Me, Anything for My Baby. It's like that's how I feel about that song. She, Love Her All I Can, and Rock and Roll All Night, the studio version, of course,
With
But
no solo,
with no solo.
which is weird.
Yeah.
So different.
Ace was
live.
gone
Yeah.
that day, so they said, slap it on there.
He's at a
Nobody's gonna-
card game.
It makes me wonder. They're like, nobody's gonna listen to this song. I mean, we'll just,
It's all chorus.
right.
It's the rock and roll national anthem, people.
Without a solo.
Turn left. It's like, album cover, really strange.
I
Well,
like
you know the story,
really
right?
good, though.
Right, sure,
They're
yeah.
all wearing Bill
Coin suits.
suits, and they didn't fit.
And
And Gene's got the weirdest shoes
He's
on.
got the
though.
clogs.
He wanted
Yeah.
to be a Paul McCartney and wear a different color suit to space himself from everyone else and go, I'm not really here. It's
Oh, you
someone
mean like
else."
the no shoes Paul McCartney?
Right, yeah, we're turned around on Sgt. Pepper.
Is Gene dead?
Yeah, oh, he
Backwards.
I've heard now that there's actually a camera on the corner. There's a camera that faces the corner where they shot that.
I've been to that corner.
You have been?
Yeah, when we went to New York. Yeah.
And I heard that you can go on there at any time.
We also
and
went to the
Google Earth
X
it.
and Sex building.
Wow.
Oh, that's pretty
Dario
awesome.
brought us.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, he
That's
brought
cool.
us around. He did a Kiss tour.
Wow.
Went by the
Sweet.
Electric
See,
Lady Studio.
That's what they should do. See,
There was a lot of places to do to see.
I'm Gene Simmons of Kiss. Welcome to the Kiss New York tour. Here is where I made my first dime. I still have it.
Every song on here I like. I think for my favorite would probably be "Come On and Love Me." I think that's pedal all the way down. They floor it through that song. I love
Great
that
hooks.
song. I remember one of the first things I ever had was a double platinum. And I'm pretty sure that was on there.
yeah, it is.
Thank
Side
you.
4.
Thank you. And I just remember, forever, that was always just such a great song. And if you get the chance to see them play it live, it's just, they just go for it. what about you, Trey? What's your favorite song on the album?
On Dress to Kill, Love Her All I Can, by far. It's great solos, great drums on it, rocking cowbell the whole time.
Rocking the cowbell.
It's got it all. It's no oven line, but other than that,
They ditched the whole housewares kind of songwriting ways.
I had to deal with General Electric. At the
Yeah.
time, it didn't work out.
Hotter Than Hell tour was put on by Sears. Ace Hardware.
It worked out.
Would that surprise anybody? I mean, they've done the Walmart,
Macy's presents Kiss.
They had that Target, and they have the little dog with the Target on his eye. He'd be the new member.
I mean, yeah, there you go.
Tommy's new makeup.
Yeah.
I remember walking into Walmart and they gave me one of their handouts of the sales, and it was like TVs for sale, and it was on each TV was pictures of Kiss, and I was just like, wow, this is really going that,
All right.
that extra. What about you,
Extra
Rick?
step.
Probably Love Her All I Can as well. I love that song. That's one of those songs I think they should have been playing live. And you were on the last albums. We're talking about songs that we would take off. Man, that would be a tough call for Dress to Kill. Dress to Kill to me is one of my just all-time favorite Kiss albums. It was when they were really hungry, and everything just slams through that whole thing. It's not a long album, but it's a good album.
It
man.
is really short. It's quick. I mean, I remember I listened to it recently. I put the needle down. I sat down. I had to get back up. I was like, good Lord, when I was a kid, did I really get up this much?
Yeah.
It's like...
Change the channel,
Put
turn
the
over
two
the album.
quarters on top of the needle.
Yeah, make sure it doesn't skip.
I always had to put 3 pennies on if I was listening to Kiss albums, though.
Lee, what's your favorite song on the album?
This is tough, but I'm gonna go with Two Timer. I just love Gene's. I just love
That's
it.
Yeah.
a good song. That's a good song.
Yeah, I love that one.
For me, as far as taking one off, I do not like Anything for My Baby. I don't know. It's just anything. When you listen to it, it just sounds like they're going anything for my baby.
And the exact same
Anything for my baby.
the same intro for Rock and Roll All Night too. To the beat, it's basically the exact same intro as far as if you
I
had to
would
play.
rock and roll all night. Anything for my baby. I buy her an oven. Anything for my
Trey,
baby.
take a song off.
If it wasn't for the, what it did for me, I'd almost say Rock and Roll All Night. But
You're so sick of it.
right, that's just
Yeah.
because but if you're hearing it for the first time, it's really tough. Maybe Ladies in Waiting, but that's probably just throwing one out there. I really like that song a lot too. I like the ending solo that Ace does, and but that's probably I'd rather have that off than Two Timer or Room Service or just about anything else. I guess I like Getaway a lot. It's hard to pick.
Lee?
I'd probably say Getaway. Yeah.
Really?
Just out of all of them. And Rock and Roll Night, it's funny, I said because you're sick of it, but it's funny, I'm not sick of it. Like, how
Sure.
many freaking years have I listened
Yeah.
to it? It comes on the radio, and I'm like, and I turn it up. It's
Sure,
like,
sure.
why am I not sick of it? I don't understand.
I feel the same way.
It's weird.
Well, and anytime you see a performance from back when,
And it just gives you that adrenaline
Sure,
still.
sure.
It's just Kiss, it's just... Ugh.
Well, it's so up when they do it. Like if you watch a '77 show or they just seem like they even really get into it. As many times they played it, they're really
still,
churning it out. But now I can probably see where Paul just like, we're doing it again.
Yeah, I guess.
What about you, Rick?
Oh, man, that's like I said
That's
before.
a tough one.
This album is so good, and like I said, I didn't have an issue on the first 2 taking something out, but man, I don't know. I don't know, and I'm just gonna say, God, I don't even want to say Two Timer just because I like that song, but I don't know, man. Geez, that's a tough call. Maybe I don't know. I may kind of side with Lee on Getaway. I like that song, but I feel like probably, I guess,
The other ones are stronger.
yeah, that's probably the weaker.
That one I like so much just solely for Peter's vocal towards the end.
Love Peter's vocals.
He's got some good wailing on the end of it. But again, I almost wonder what would happen if Ace had sang it since he wrote it. I mean, I don't think he could provide the same vocal strength, but his own little take on it as his song.
A friend of mine, when we were talking about misheard lyrics, and I always
Here we
think,
go.
I always think this is funny. He would always go. He always thought as a kid that when Paul would say, "I'm a Capricorn and she's a Cancer," he always thought that they said, "I'm a capital C for Cancer," and he goes, "Man, is like having cancer cool." It's like
Rock and roll.
It's like, well, I got cancer. Fuck yeah, man.
I'll tell you something. And now here's something that I waited and nobody mentioned, and I'm really surprised by that. And that's the song "She."
I was waiting for somebody to say something about it. I like that song.
That is such a great song. You know, it's
Fun to
got that.
heavy.
It's a good bass song to play.
I love playing that.
But the solo is very reminiscent to a Doors
5-1.
5-1 Robbie Krieger. You ever listen to the two?
You know, I think that somebody showed it to me at one point. I think that what happened was I had a buddy telling me, a lot of these songs, man, they seem to interchange with, they hear something. And somebody played me a Bruce Springsteen song. And
it sounds like
I was made for loving you. There's even
enough.
women in the background going doo doo doo.
Really?
Yep, sure enough.
And I think he showed that to me, the solo to me, and that Bruce Springsteen.
Well, even on the Psycho Circus album, I never could hear this. The song "Dreamin'" got sued by Alice Cooper because they said it sounded so much like 18, and I just, for the life of me, just couldn't hear it. I could put this on.
It.
Could you?
I think he won that lawsuit, actually.
It's the music.
Yeah,
it's not the words.
right.
It's the
I know, but
background.
it just still
I hear it.
seemed.
I can kind of, but it's
But not enough.
hard.
I think they probably changed it enough. Did they win?
I don't think. I think it
I think
got
they
thrown
changed
out.
it to that certain percentage you're supposed to change.
Sure.
15%, I think is, but I think that I read that Alice Cooper won that.
Oh, he
lawsuit.
did.
Yeah.
Well, it was just a publishing thing.
Yeah, I don't think Alice was even involved in it.
or Kiss. I think they were
Yeah,
both.
just
It was
somebody
all done
else.
through publishing companies,
Ridiculous.
But yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough call on the Dress to Kill.
What about the do you ever see the outtakes of all the pictures where they go where they're dressed normal and they're going into like a phone booth and they all come out of the phone booth dressed like
Yeah, I have that on my wall.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
That's from a magazine.
That's a pretty spectacular. I wish they would have published more of that.
made it part of the album art or
That was
something.
like a
That'd been
promo
cool.
thing. They were
right.
going in.
One thing about "She" I kind of wanted to throw out. As much as I like that song, when they would do it live, like on the is it Midnight Special? Gene, and he does this on this song and "Take Me." When he does backup vocals, everybody knows, he goes like way way high up in the air.
Yeah, you can go
and then on "Take Me," it's the same way. Take me, and it always drives me crazy. It's like, you're not supposed to sing that high, and you're the
can do
demon.
it.
You're
You
the
can do it,
demon.
though.
Yeah.
I like when he hits some of the high notes on certain songs,
Gene's
but
voice.
when it comes to backup vocals, especially on like a Paul song, which she's not a Paul song, but it still just seems way out of place as far as where it's going. It always just drove me nuts. But moving on.
Well,
Well,
Go ahead.
and then I guess I think the topper to all three was the originals, which is also, I think, is
The new originals.
the right is started really kind of the Kiss marketing thing. I think.
Yep.
I don't really, and I wonder too now, because did originals come out before Alive, or did it come out
After.
After, okay. So that right there, I think, kind of gave Kiss fans something to, at the beginning, before there were belt buckles and bubblegum cards and comic books. It gave them something like, well, if you didn't get the first three, here's all three of them plus a book.
right.
And the Kiss Army little, the cards and everything. So they kind of gave you that. And then that's one thing I always liked about Alive, too. Alive, not Alive 2, Alive also. Was the book that came with it. It was almost like a little tour program.
Albums always came with cool stuff. I miss that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So miss
Yeah.
And it was like, so if you're listening to the album, not only are you seeing the pictures in the back with the guys holding the Kiss, sign up in the packed Cobo Hall, you open it up and you've got the letters that are, it almost seems like it's to you, and they're very cryptic, like,
Yes.
does sound like he's from Jindal, and Peter does make all these little cat-like references.
I heard that Lydia wrote Peter's
Oh, really?
letter. Yeah.
We could ask
He had
her.
better penmanship. than Peter.
if it would have been Peter's, it would have been like, this sucks. This is pissing me off. Gene's hogging everything. I'm going to jump out this window. I quit.
I have
Again.
that Originals 2 album. I think it's from Japan.
Yeah.
I have the full set. It's got like masks and everything. It's really cool.
That's spectacular.
Yeah.
Even the new Destroyer that just came out
Resurrection
came with a book, and I bought it on vinyl as well.
It's cute. It looks like a little album.
Right.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And I bought it on vinyl as well for $25.
I was gonna say, I've been looking at it, but it's pricey.
I just records. I mean, I want to keep my vinyl collection going, but every time I show up, I'm just like, man, on CD this is
My
9.
allowance would not
Yeah.
have gotten me those.
No, hell no.
It's like,
Well, that's that was as we all know, that was one of the toughest things about being a Kiss fan after Destroyer, because
They
everything
pumped them out every year.
Everything was in 4s. There was 4 different posters, 4 different dolls.
You had
4
to have
different.
'em all.
You had to have them all.
Right.
And then and that's where I think my parents' patience grew thin. They're like, I've already bought you the damn record. Is it enough we've got to go buy a fucking car?
Go
or
mow the
this?
lawn and I'll give you $10.
Yeah, right.
You got a Paul Stanley doll. Isn't that enough?
Yeah, you got one of the members.
no, I have to have all
Make him play with G.I. Joe. Put some makeup on G.I. Joe.
Yeah, and my Gene used to be all up with my Barbies.
Right. Ladies in waiting.
well, that brings us to the end of episode 2 of Podcast Rock City. I want to thank you guys for being here.
It was a sweet pain.
Wouldn't miss it for a world without Hotter Than Hell.
Yes,
I wouldn't miss it for all the Frigidairs and ovens in the world.
And I'm just not. These two are great with one-liners. I don't ever have them.
I'll have them once in a while, but I'll just say I got nothing.
I got
Yeah.
nothing.
Don't worry, we'll take up the slack there.
back and
Next
write.
show we will be discussing The Elder.
Okay.
Jumping right to the Elder.
We are jumping to The Elder.
Well, we don't want to go in a chronological order. I think
Yeah.
it kind
I hear-
of
okay.
it's kind of good to mix it up a little bit. So we thought the Elder would probably be an interesting topic.
Yes. And make sure that you go to and put in your stories at Podcast Rock City and let us know. Give us your pictures, email anybody that we were setting up all emails for everybody, so you can send Lee a message and say, "Hey, I saw you as the Goddess of Thunder in Detroit." And I don't know.
Sign Ace Frehley.
Lee, yeah.
Hey, are you still single, Ace?
I like tall women. Make sure you check out all the other podcasts. Every one of them are spectacular. And we will see you next time on Podcast Rock City.
City.
C'est la vie.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.